Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in...
Good evening, everybody. It has been a long time.
Too long.
Yes. Welcome. I'm Carrie, and tonight we're diving into two really serious topics that affect families and communities right here in Oklahoma, Kansas, and beyond. First, we're going to talk about creating safe exchange centers for custody handoffs. And that's really what brought us all together with Jilian and Veronica. Real spaces that can save lives and protect children and protect adults as well. And then we're going to shift gears and dig into a reported trucking scheme in Texas County, Oklahoma, how it operated, why it matters, and what accountability could look like. And let's see real quick. Mark will be joining us here any minute. So real quick, Beach Girl, thank you so much for the $4.99 super sticker. We appreciate you. And Shenanigans, thank you very much.
That's me. that's the other channel. It's the sister channel.
And
gotta show love to the job.
Yes, thank you. And thank you guys all so much for being here. So we're going to be joined here in just a few minutes by Mark Calvin. And he's been working really hard to bring safe exchange centers into reality, as well as my wonderful co-host, Tara Parker. Mark and Tara, I really appreciate you two being here. And to all of you watching live, welcome, grab a snack, drink, settle in, and we will get started in just a moment. How has everybody been?
They're all active in the chat, that's for sure. And all the regulars are here, plus some new people.
And Clinton says, I'm a trucker. I'm interested in that.
I'd like to speak with you.
Yes. And there is Mark.
Hello.
There he is. Hi, Mark.
Hello.
Fashionably late. Must be nice.
I got to switch my camera around because it's all goofy at the moment. So.
That's all right. Mine too.
Yeah. Hang on.
So, we'll start with the safe exchange places real quick, and I'll go over a few things, and then we're going to let Mark talk because he's really done a lot of work on this, and he knows way more.
While they're getting that prepped up, just a quick little reminder that there is a little, Carrie set a goal for, what is it, 10? What is it?
Yeah, 10 super chats.
10 super chats. And then there is a poll as well. So depending on how you guys vote will determine what we do next week. So if you love us, show us love. How about that?
Carrie getting right to it.
I never do that. I was uncomfortable with it, but go for it, Mark.
That's all right.
Okay.
Real quick, Mark, let me go over this just real fast. What safe exchange means for those that don't know. When a judge orders parents to exchange children for visitation, too often that order just says, agree on a public place. And that can mean parking lots, fast food restaurants, or even police stations.
Sorry, hang on.
You're okay. But here's the truth. Those are not always safe places, even police stations. So for families where domestic violence, threats, or ongoing conflict exists, those handoffs can be dangerous, as we have found out numerous times. Children also see and hear things that they should never have to. Survivors, partner that's leaving a relationship, they're at their most vulnerable during those times. And so a safe exchange center is different. It's like a secure, staff, neutral location where custody exchanges happen under watchful eyes. Cameras are typically rolling. The staff are trained to de-escalate. Parents may arrive at different times, use separate doors, and never have to see each other face to face. And then this makes it where the child is the focus, not the conflict. And Kansas, and this is what Mark's going to talk with us about, Kansas already has a statewide program called the Child Exchange and Visitation Centers, and that is funded through the Attorney General's office. Now, Oklahoma has some local models too, like the Child's Time in Oklahoma City, but these resources are really patchy, they're underfunded, and there are far too few of them. And so, Mark, would you like to kind of explain what you've been working on, what you've learned? I know it's a whole lot of information.
It is a whole lot of information, and my plan was to have it all together in an organized, intelligent document for this meeting. But because of the way our schools are going on, and it's enrollment time, I didn't get that finished. However, I will get that posted especially in the group,
Okay.
and I will make that available other places as well.
Perfect. And that's fine. I have a lot of information already here.
Yeah.
Also, in the description of the video, there are some links that you could go to for Kansas and for Oklahoma.
Right.
If you just click on those links, it'll take you to the websites. That will also help you. But we should have plenty of information, I think, to share that people can get started right away in their own communities.
Right. And one thing, and I'm going to give you the Reader's Digest version because we could be on here for 2.5, 3 hours, just with the information I've discovered so far. In Kansas, at this current time, there are only 9 custody exchange and visitation centers, CEVC. And these are centers that are supported by the Office of the Attorney General, Victim Services in Kansas. And by supported by, I mean there are grants. There's grants available from the Attorney General's office, but there's also grants available from another place. And the reason I say another place is because I haven't got that completely nailed down yet. So I have spoken with one of the CEVC, and I am currently in talks with them and a domestic violence and sexual assault organization out of Kansas to be able to get the word out and get official trainings to where organizations can start the process to get one of these set up. In the state of Kansas, the farthest one west is Hutchinson. We don't have any farther west than that. And for those of you who don't know about Western Kansas, Hutchinson is not Western Kansas.
It's central Kansas.
Yeah, it's central Kansas. So there's another 5-6 hour drive of Kansas, and there are no custody exchange visitation centers out that way. There's a center called Bright House in Hutch, and I'm working with a lady out of Bright House to put together the trainings for individuals who may be interested in setting one of these up. There are specific guidelines that are set up by the Office of Attorney General. Those guidelines are strictly adhered to, and the reason they are is because of the safety of the children. But they are very excited about the fact that we have a lot of interest in this information and the possibility of extending these exchange centers outside of where they're at. Elkhart. I can see the chat says they go across the bottom. Oh, Elkhart would be excellent because you can't get any more Southwest Kansas than Elkhart.
Let me ask you this, Mark, based on everything you've learned. I know so many people will say a police parking lot. Can you kind of explain to us why police parking lots are not enough? And then what do you envision for true exchange centers?
Well, while you're doing that, piggyback all of that into the question on the screen right now. Isn't there a courthouse in each county where exchanges can happen? So you can kind of dovetail all of that together.
Sure. And I've been in discussion with members of law enforcement in your larger communities where law enforcement is always at the police station or the sheriff's office or the law enforcement center, and there's somebody always monitoring cameras. You have the space to designate parking spaces, all that kind of stuff. That'd work. However, there are so many communities in Kansas where there's not enough staff at the law enforcement center. There's not an officer, a security officer, to be there when exchanges happen because there are only 2, 3, 4, 5 at the most in some communities. So will it work? Yes, as long as they have the manpower and the ability to monitor the situation. And so, yeah, a courthouse would be great as long as there is consistent monitoring. And one thing that I don't think people understand is the detail in the process. I went through the process with some folks at Bright House, and I threw out scenarios, and I said, okay, what if this happens? And they had their detail to that scenario was spot on. So for example, if you have somebody dropping off, mom and dad are on opposite sides of the building. They don't ever come within I don't know, several hundred feet of each other. They don't ever see each other. They don't ever come in contact. But the whole time the exchange is happening, there is a physical security presence, and there is someone monitoring cameras the entire time. So there's a lot of changeover, but there are, I mean, okay, so mom and dad are exchanging one child. There are at least 2 to 3 people in on that exchange on the inside of the visitation center that are monitoring cameras, actually physically walking with the child to the other parent. Yeah, there's a lot of things to the scenarios, and it's not just pull up in 2 parking spaces in front of QT and swap the kid, and then
Right.
There's a lot more to it. Law enforcement is aware. There are processes. They work directly with the courts. It's not just a la-di-da type of thing. There's a high structure.
Right. Yeah. I was going to ask the chat a question real quick. Do any of you have a custody exchange center in your community that you know of, or even anywhere close to you? I don't think that there is anything close to me. Or is it usually just like typically parking lots? And I'm asking the chat, what's your experience with that?
Boy, and I can tell you Carrie, I'm glad that you mentioned some that were in Oklahoma City, because speaking with the Office of Attorney General in Oklahoma, they are unaware of any at all. So if there are some in Oklahoma, that's awesome. But there is a breakdown in communication there, and that's, as we know from, the existence of this group, as we know, that's dangerous. Very,
Yeah.
very dangerous. So one of the biggest things, especially in Kansas, the legislature has just asked us to push this education initiative and spend some time getting people educated and getting them trained and getting these exchange centers in as many places and areas as we can before we start working on legislation. I saw a comment just a minute ago that said in rural places they don't have the manpower. That is correct.
That's a big problem.
That's the problem. However, like, for example, Bright House in Hutch, They do a phenomenal job, and they're because right now, because of the limited number of exchange centers in Kansas, one exchange center can service multiple counties.
Mhm.
So like Bright House, they service, I think it's 5 or 6 different counties. So, coordinating the exchange is part of that. In fact, she mentioned that they service a couple or a family. One parent lives in Nebraska, one lives in Oklahoma. Hutch is the center point. So they exchange it. They exchange in Hutch and go their own ways. Um, but yeah, the manpower issue is a legitimate, true issue. Um, so we would just have to, when we're doing these education things and these initiatives and the trainings, we need to look at places where manpower we have the manpower. And one thing, as people are listening to this and they're thinking about possibly setting up one of these, one of the biggest things with the Office of Attorney General is the organization already has to be in existence without the grants.
So, for instance, what does that look like? So that's like maybe a nonprofit that already exists, and
Yes,
then they apply for these grants, correct?
yes. So, for example, like a CASA office, or an already existing nonprofit that works with families, or a government agency, or a law enforcement place, or anything like that. They have to be a standalone prior to setting up the exchange center.
Now, is
Um,
there like a length of time they have to already be set up? Do you know? Or could
um,
somebody say, go start a nonprofit and then get this going?
I believe the phrase is established. Um, that's one of the things that I can't give you a specific amount of time because I have the information, I just don't have it in front of me, and I don't
Right. Yeah.
remember.
No,
So
that's
anything that I'm saying might be a lie, so I don't want to say that.
fine. No.
But,
At least he's honest about it.
Right.
yeah. Well, I'm good. Yeah, given the gravity of the situation, yeah, I'm going to be straight up honest about it. I am not going to mislead anybody with this type of situation. Um, but I mean, an existing nonprofit, an existing organization, um, law enforcement, government agencies, they list it out, and like I said early on, these requirements and stipulations are very specific and they're very ironclad. They're not. Yeah, you can't just run out and say, "Hey, I'm gonna fire up a nonprofit so I can do this." Um, and what Bright House will tell you, the lady that I met with at Bright House, um, for this specific part of their nonprofit, the grants cover all of the overhead
Mhm.
for this piece. So
Right.
for the custody exchange and the visitation centers, these grants cover the overhead for paying people to be there, paying people to monitor the cameras, the security systems, the cameras themselves, all of that kind of stuff. These grants cover all of those things. But once again, the organization has to already have been in existence and be a solid, sound organization before they
Yeah.
start.
The comment on the screen regrets that Elkhart has a new community coalition. I wonder if it would qualify.
It might. It might. Um, and what's cool about Elkhart is the fact that Elkhart could service. I mean, they're in a spot where they could service Kansas,
Mhm.
Colorado, New Mexico, Oklahoma. They could hit all of those areas. So Elkhart would be a prime spot.
Yeah, definitely.
But,
Let's quickly take a look at how two communities, one is in Kansas and then the other is in Texas, and how they're providing these exchange centers to, kind of give you a better idea of really what we're talking about. And these are just real quick, short little videos I want to share. Give me
Sure.
just a moment to get those up on the screen.
Carrie, I'm glad you did your work. I fell behind on mine. I'm a slacker on mine.
No, you're fine. You've really done all the work, so we're going to give you a pass. Okay, this one is Spring Hill, Kansas. Yes, Spring Hill, Kansas. So let me play that.
Well, selling goods on Facebook Marketplace or meeting for a custody exchange can sometimes be risky interactions. News 2 Sophia Radabau has more on how Spring Hill police are creating a safe meetup spot in tonight's neighborhood news.
Well, this real quick, can everybody hear that?
Yep.
The video has audio?
Can hear. Yep.
Okay, good.
This new safe exchange zone is located by the new Spring Hill Police headquarters, and the concept is not new, but the department tells me not a lot of people actually know about it, so they're trying to spread the word. When the new police department opened in May, Lieutenant Michael Foster tells me they knew this was important to implement since they had one at their old location. Cameras record the safe exchange spot in the department parking lot 24 hours a day. This time around, police also added an emergency button to the safe exchange zone that immediately contacts dispatch. Lieutenant Foster says it's rare that they respond to violent exchanges, but it does happen. They say even one time is too many.
We just want to try to prevent that, give people a safe space to do these exchanges where they feel comfortable, and then try to cut down on some of the, apprehension of these meetings, which you don't know who you're meeting. Bottom line, it could be good intentions, it could be bad intentions. So we just want to have this place where people can meet.
Now, the police department says if you decide not to use the safe exchange zone, then choose to meet at a well-lit public place where there are a lot of people around at a decent hour of the day. Back to you guys.
All right, and then this next one is Abilene, Texas.
I'm Caitlin Leggett. Here in Abilene, the Treehouse Safe Exchange Center is creating a one-of-a-kind way for families to reunite and promote positive interaction.
So Treehouse started because there was a need in our community for hands-on parenting to work with the parents that are in a supervised visit that would be either in a CPS case or a private case.
The nonprofit center offers supervised visitation for non-custodial parents and conflict-free custody exchanges. It's designed to reduce tension and make interactions easier for everyone involved.
We try to have all the things that we can teach parenting with, whether that be tummy time or just talking about developmental stages for each age group.
In addition to providing space for visits, the center also offers hands-on parenting education, which helps parents just like Stacy to have support during such a difficult process.
My very first day, I was not thrilled. I didn't want to be here. I just wanted to go home. But I knew from that moment forward that I had gained a lot of support in a family from Treehouse. And 10 months later, my kids are home. I have a lot of open doors, and I am just feeling a whole lot better about myself.
She lost her kids in an open CPS case last August and was recommended for parenting classes here at Treehouse.
The Treehouse is a special place for me. It allowed me to be able to see my kids.
The ultimate goal, reuniting families when possible, or at the very least, helping them maintain strong and healthy connections.
All the funds that we get from Abilene Gives goes directly to working with the parents that come through our center. We use that for our parenting curriculum. We use it to maybe even purchase food so that they have food here to cook.
The nonprofit runs off of donations and is participating in its 6th year with Abilene Gives.
And I'm so grateful for Community Foundation and putting this on for us nonprofits to have an opportunity to raise funds to continue to serve the families here in our community.
The nonprofit runs off of donations that go directly to supporting the parents and families that use the center.
Okay, so I have a couple of comparisons. The first video, Spring Hill, Kansas, great that's a great setup, and it works for their community. The difference is, see, they have a smaller community, so the manpower issue, the it's monitored by camera, and they can hit a safe button. That's a good thing. I'm not bashing that at all. That's an amazing thing. The difference is, like with Bright House, there is someone monitoring cameras specifically for the exchange.
Right. The cameras don't do much good. I mean, if somebody's going to do something, they're going to do it whether there's a camera around or not. So then it's not really preventing.
Right.
It's just recording.
Yeah, there's documentation, and they have a button that alerts dispatch. The problem is, if one of the spouses is attacked, they may not be able to get to the button.
Exactly.
So and if that works for them, that's awesome. But like with Bright House, there's video monitoring, there's video cameras. They are being monitored by a physical live person, and there is a physical live person that meets with drop-off parent, gets whatever needs to be got, and escorts the child to pick up parent. The minute the child leaves drop-off parent and they go inside the door, drop-off parent has to leave. There's a very detailed process. The second video, I don't know how much, like, for example, Bright House or any of the other CEVCs in Kansas, I don't know how much they do with parenting classes, with that kind of thing. I know Bright House does the supervised visitation, but I don't know how much they do with the classes, so I can't really speak to that. But even with those two, you see the vast difference.
Right.
So,
yeah, definitely. And I don't know, I can't turn my camera back on, so I'll have to keep playing with that. I don't know how I did that. In fact, I got lost from the whole thing. So,
Right.
Okay. So what does it actually take to build one of these centers? And this is just from my research, and Mark definitely will have, his own ideas and thoughts and what he's learned. Step one, like, pick the model, or is it going to be a standalone? Is it going to be a standalone center? Sorry. Others house them like inside a family justice center or a nonprofit, that's already serving the community. And then, write the policies based on, supervised visitation network standards. That means, like what Mark was just talking about, staggered arrivals, secure entries, and strict no contact rules. Step 3, design the facility. So it's kind of recommended you have 2 waiting rooms, a separate parking, child-friendly spaces, and of course, security cameras. Step 4, train the staff, not just volunteers. These are people who understand domestic violence dynamics, stalking, trauma, things like that. And then step 5, fund it. Kansas has AG grants for child exchange and visitation centers. Oklahoma also has funds available through the District Attorney's Council. And then federally, there is an OVW Justice for Families grant program that is built exactly for this. Step 6, integrate the courts. Judges need to order families to use these centers in high-risk cases. And I know somebody brought that up about judges a little bit ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes it's hard to get judges on board with things like this.
Here and wow, Carrie, you it's interesting. We didn't really coordinate on the research we were going to do, but you filled in blanks that I didn't have. So, but yeah, the SVN network and the OAG guidelines are pretty much exactly the same. I mean, the wording might be a little different, but they are exactly the same. Go back to that setup slide, would you? If you could. Nope. Back.
Your step-by-step slide. There you go.
Hey, the 90-day blueprint. There you go. See, there are the waiting rooms, and I keep referring to Bright House and Hutch because that's where I was at. Mom and dad, they never get out of their vehicle. At that one, they pull up in their vehicle. Somebody comes out, takes child or children, and they go into the facility. The minute the door closes, mom or dad, whichever one's dropping up, has to drive off and leave. And they are, as far as the courts are concerned, they report, each exchange is reported to the court, whether it went, something went south, this, that. So the custody exchange visitation centers carries a lot of weight with whether the exchange went well or not, whether there was violence, whether there was, and they have their own set of rules that are set up. So it's, like I said, it's highly detailed. So yeah, this training, and yes, the courts are involved, and there's all kinds of, well, if this happens, that happens, that. In fact, in Reno County, let's say mom and dad have a scheduled exchange at 3:00 on Saturday. Mom shows up to pick up the kids. Dad is late. Well, I that's the scenario I did. And I said, okay, dad's late. And she goes, how late? And I said, he calls and he's running 5 minutes behind. And she goes, well, the fact that he called and he's only 5 minutes behind, we can work with that. And I said, okay, so what's your deadline? She goes, 10 minutes. No call, no show, 10 minutes. Mom gets an extra 2 weeks or whatever the visitation is. The courts will say he didn't show up, 10 minutes. Mom keeps the kids. And at the 10-minute mark, they get a hold of mom out in the car and mom drives off with the kids. There's no, we hold the kids, this, that. Whoop, she packs up, takes them back home. That way they are constantly under safety supervision. So.
Yeah. I just put in the chat some resources, and those are, one is Safe Havens, and the other is justice.gov. The justice.gov link that I put is Guiding Principles, Safe Havens, Supervised Visitation, and Safe Exchange Grant Program. So, and those links are also in the description of this video, that you can go back and look at it. And then here's just kind of the one-page checklist, which I just, pretty much went over that. Step 6 was to integrate the courts, judges, making sure that they're ordering families to use these these centers in the high-risk cases. And then finally, measure the outcomes, track safety incidents, compliance, and how safe do families actually feel. And that's the blueprint. And it works when communities decide that safety is not optional.
Here's something with, I'm sorry, Carrie.
I was done.
Yeah. Here's something with the scheduling and the logistics. It's just like setting an appointment at the doctor's office. If an exchange needs to happen, they call the center and say, do you have any openings on this day, that day, whatever? And the center will say, okay, we have openings here, here, and here. So they take that opening as like an appointment for the exchange, and then the exchange happens, but it's just like a no call, no show with the doctor's office. So it's not just, you have people sitting around at the exchange center waiting on somebody to drive up. There's a scheduled exchange. There's a scheduled thing. What's to stop judges from saying it's not necessary? It's at all possible that they could do that, but there are other ways around that. And that's something we will also be looking at. Patrick, thanks for the comment. That's something we will also be looking at as far as building legislation after this education piece goes in. So that's a good comment. I'm glad you made that comment.
Well, and Ellie hadn't stopped. I don't think words. Oh my gosh. Veronica was still in a supervisory position that had not been lifted yet. That was the whole, that was the big climax, if you will, leading to the situation that brought us all together, is because those visitations were going to be stopped because Veronica checked all the boxes that the judge put out for her. They also would not agree to Veronica's chosen option for switching the kids out. It was always where Tiffany wanted it to be. Veronica had no say so. She was very powerless in that position. A lot of times PD, local law enforcement, will not get involved in these situations. And I don't know if that's changed since I had to do that. But I know a lot of, in the Wichita area, you'll see a lot of these child parenting plans is what they are. State that the exchange has to take place at the police station in the parking lot because of the cameras.
Right. Well, and also I know because like in the Wichita area with a QT, most all QT convenience stores are labeled as a safe place. So a lot of exchanges will happen literally right in front of the QT. But if mom and dad are contentious, to a certain level, they make snide comments to each other as they're, throwing the car seats at each other or whatever.
Yeah.
But when you get into a situation like this event that's brought us, like Tara, that's great. This event that's brought us together. I like the way you said that. This is a situation where parking in front of a QT is not a good idea. This is a level of situation where there needs to be very detailed, very specific, like, okay, they wouldn't agree to it. Well, then that's where we fill in, we look at other legislation and we start to fill in holes.
Right. Yeah. And I think Patrick said, with Veronica, at first she was having cops meet her, but then the officer said he wasn't needed anymore. But I think that is the whole idea of this, is that wouldn't have even been an issue had there been a safe exchange center already in place. Then the cops wouldn't have been needed and all that. They wouldn't have been involved in it. Because they don't want to get involved, until it's too late. So this may have prevented this from happening. Obviously, with Jilian and Veronica, there was more at play. So, but this definitely would have been something that could have potentially saved their lives and lives of other people. So I've covered other cases where they were meeting up for custody and the father murdered the mother and takes off with the baby, or vice versa. So if these were in place, that wouldn't happen. And almost always the parent that is being on the attack, they are aware that they're not safe, so I think it would have helped.
The situation with the dad that was he sacrificed the girls in their I think it was a divorce situation. Dad sacrificed the girls before mom could have her time with them, and he's out on the run. What's really sad is we have to have these places because we have individuals who will not put their children first and let the relationship go. And I've been in a situation where I did have to exchange my boys at the police station because I didn't feel safe with their dad. We had a domestic violence situation. I was never sure who he was coming with. He always brought a cop friend with him, it seemed like, to protect him. But I never had any protection. And it didn't. And things have since changed, right? The boys are grown up. The dad and I get along great now because of other matters that involved our son. My son had a stroke, and that just everything else died off. And it was like, you put that kid first, no matter what age they are. The fact that we have to police parenting in this fashion is ridiculous. It should really make the courts rethink the parenting plan. If one's that violent that we have to have documentation of their behavior to ensure they won't do something they shouldn't be doing, that's a parenting plan issue that really needs to go deeper into the courts.
Right. The comment that's on the screen right now, Sunset Girl, could these centers be used even if the court said it's not necessary? Yes. You can call a center and set up an exchange, whether the court mandates it or not. There are, from what I understand, there are several families that they set up the exchange just because it feels safer and more structured for them. So yes, that's it. Absolutely, that's absolutely correct. And there was something else. Now I went blank, Tara. There was something else I was kidding. It's old fart syndrome.
It's the fact that the parenting plan needs to be adjusted for specifically violent and unpredictable individuals that can't put those kids first. The courts need to do a better job evaluating versus just saying, all right, you two can't get along. And most times a woman leaves the husband because he is vicious to the family structure, not just the woman, until he tries playing the kids as pawns against mom, which they mostly do. And then I'm watching one of my closest friends go through this. Her kids, there's 4 kids between the two of them, and each one is turning against the more destructive parent. They're turning against him more and more because their behavior towards the child is so terribly impactful that they're like, I can't do this with you. You're my parent, but I can't do this with you because I see why mom left you, Dad. I see why mom left you. There's no way that you're not a good person.
Debbie, your question, is it a free service or do families need to pay for it? Honestly, I believe that goes center to center.
I have a little answer here.
Yeah.
This is Bright House.
Uh-huh.
It says that Bright House supervised visits are typically 1 or 2 hours long, depending on the ages and needs of children. Program provides supervised visitation as well as monitored exchange. Because they are partially funded by state and local grants, they're able to provide services for a minimal fee. How hourly rates for supervised visits are calculated on a sliding scale. Intake $30 a case, supervised visitation $14 to $22 an hour, and a monitored exchange $10 an exchange. That's well worth every penny of $10.
Yeah. And that sliding scale is the key thing, because they can do, $14 in exchange. If there's some type of financial issue, they can sliding scale that down to $5, whatever. I do remember the other comment now. Wow. With the exchanges in public places, that's best case scenario, especially right now for a lot of people. But Tara, I know you heard about this. You had to have. Not far from where I'm sitting right now, mom and dad brought child to school in an Uber, dropped the kid off. Mom turns around and dad shoots mom in the chest with a gun in front of the school with literally hundreds of people right there.
Yep. Yeah.
So there are situations where it doesn't matter who's there. Something's going to go down.
That's why I don't feel like police parking lots and things like that just have a camera hey, if something happens, let us know after the
Well, hell,
fact.
everybody's got a camera, so it's really
Yeah,
just a matter of
if
the
somebody
camera.
is determined, like the case you're just talking about, Mark, I know
Yeah.
what you're talking about. In that case, there was nothing that was going to stop that guy. He was going to
No.
do it.
No,
So,
and yeah, there was absolutely nothing. He was just going to do it, and he had no regard for any of the other children that were right there, or anything else. So the fact that the perception is out there that we're in public, nothing's going to happen. Wrong. I mean, that case right there proved, and that school is literally north of here about a mile and a half. So it's, yeah, I mean, that's why I keep bringing up Bright House, because their process is detail, 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 detail. If this, then this, just back and forth. So,
As it should be. I mean, it's sad that we have to get to that point. But if we have to be to that point, better safe than sorry. Again,
well,
referring back to the situation that brought us all together.
do you know if the Debbie? I don't know.
I'm going to just take a wild guess on this. I don't think they're going to get involved with all that. I think that there's a fee that gets paid. That's kind of the end of it. I don't think they're going to get involved with who is the abuser, who's not the abuser, and that kind of thing. That's just my opinion. I very well could be wrong, though.
Carrie, I think you're exactly right. The center itself, it's not going to matter as long as the fee's paid or however it's worked out. I think you're exactly right. They're not going to care who did what to who, to where, to when. It's going to be, this is the process. Did both mom and dad show up, or did both parents show up, and let's get it done.
Yeah.
So it's that simple. That's one thing that we've got to be careful about, is we don't get off in the weeds with a lot of drama and a lot of this, that, and what if. It's
we could go all day and tomorrow and the next with the what if.
Yeah,
definitely.
And that's the thing, is there is always, regardless of the rules and the structure, there will always be exceptions to the rule.
Nothing is going to be foolproof ever.
Right.
But I definitely appreciate all the work you've done on this, Mark, and bringing, the attention to it. And I hope that all of us, or at least some of us, even if just one of us, goes back in our communities and it makes an attempt to get something going,
And I will get those documents and stuff especially to the group. But I will make sure, Carrie, you and Tara have those. So if someone contacts you, maybe outside the group or whatever, we can disseminate that information. I'm also working on a point of contact for anybody who's interested in getting the training and possibly looking at filing for the grants and that type of thing. I want 1 or 2 points of contact. That way it all goes to either 1 or 2 places. So as soon as I get all that together, I'm going to make sure that it's in the group and that you guys have it so you can disseminate it however we need to. So.
Wonderful. Beach Girl, thank you so much for your $1.99 super chat. And she also says, please keep Western Kansas in your thoughts for starting a center.
I grew up in the Oklahoma Panhandle, not far from this situation. Actually, I taught in Garden City for 16 years. Oh yeah, I am. Just because I live in Wichita, I'm not an Eastern Kansas, Central Kansas person. I'm a Western Kansas person. So
can I ask, what does the training look like? Do you know? Have you gotten that far into it? What is
I haven't gotten that far into it. But I can tell you that the lady at Bright House has stepped up and said, yes, she would love to, set that up. Well,
It's
I think
wonderful.
what you talked about was a lot of it is understanding domestic violence and understanding. I think there's a lot that goes into it, but for good reason. You know.
Yeah, in my research, that basically was as far as training goes, domestic violence and trauma informed, um, stalking awareness protocols, and then
Yep.
just regular safety audits. So I don't think it's anything huge, and
No.
every one of us could do it. We could all handle it. But I just
Yeah.
wondered.
Well, in fact, I've been talking about it so much here in Hayesville. I have different organizations considering it right here in Hayesville because the closest one is Hutch or Emporia. So, and actually, Terry, you might be able to get somebody in Derby as well. So, just talking about it and people saying, "Yeah, I'd be interested in hearing about that."
Right.
Whether they want to or not, it's they get at least hear about it. So,
Yeah.
Actually, there's a new nonprofit that just opened up in Derby. It's I think it's called Embrace. I can't think of the name for sure, but it's designed for pregnant moms who want to make the pregnancy work and want to go forward with having the baby, and they get all that support and good stuff. And that might be a way of extending their services, is providing some of that care, some of that support, some of those classes specifically on emotional intelligence, so that you kind of minimize these kinds of issues. So there's got to be space for it. Somebody is echoing.
We have a guest.
We did. He just hopped off.
Clint, when you come back up, just make sure you've turned YouTube off or the volume all the way down in the background, and that should get rid of that.
Yeah, Clint. For those of you who may not know,
together, Clint.
For those of you who may not know, Clint and I have been friends since we were 3, so it's been 48 years. So yeah, so I'm going to be giving Clint grief, but actually I need to jump off of here. But yeah, and Tara, one thing that I did is I'm a member of the business here is a member of the chamber. So I approached the Chamber of Commerce and said, "Hey, this would be good for our community." And, it just laid out some of the ways why it would be good for the community.
Mm-hmm.
And they were quite interested. Mm-hmm. So Tara, anybody listening, approach your chamber and talk and just bring it up and say, "Hey, this would be good for just community,"
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
Agreed.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Mark. We really appreciate you coming on and doing this. And we'll continue to, try to get information and help anybody that wants to get involved with something like this. You can always get a hold of myself, Tara, Mark on Facebook, the Facebook group, Facebook Messenger or email, and we will be more than happy if we don't know the answers. I think between the 3 of us, we could sure help find those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. One last thing, I am putting together a Google form that if you are interested, if you fill out this Google form, it's so like the 3 of us can create a leads list. So we know people in areas that are interested, and then we get it to the instructors and trainers and that kind of thing. So we know where the interest is, and we're not just fishing in the dark.
Right.
I will get that out as well. So
wonderful. Thank you.
You bet. Hey, you guys have a good evening, and everybody on here, hope to have a good, safe evening, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks,
Thank
Mark.
you.
Yep.
Bye, Mark.
See you later.
Maybe. All right. He said maybe.
Where's the exit? It is not. It's user friendly, but it's not intuitive. Once you figure out what you're supposed to hit in StreamYard, you can navigate. But otherwise, if you're brand new, you're like, how the hell do I get out of here?
Well, they've changed things since the last time we were on here. I can't figure out how to turn my camera off.
At the bottom, you see the microphone and the camera.
Mm-hmm.
At the bottom of the screen, hit the camera.
They don't do that.
What do you mean it don't do that? It does it for me.
Well,
I don't know. That's how I do it.
interesting. Is Clint coming back up?
I
Do
don't
you want to talk about this?
know. I don't know what he's doing other than being silly. He would have
Yeah.
a strong opinion about this.
I know, and I'm really interested in learning and hearing what he has to say about it. Yeah, Get to Ducking Point said, really enjoyed last time Mark, Clint, and LaDonna were on together. Pure gold. It was fun. And it was
a
so
lot.
unexpected, but it was a lot of fun.
It worked out so nicely.
It did.
Oh,
He might join us again when he figures his stuff out.
if he's working from the phone, it's not exactly easy on the phone. So, but we can keep moving on, and we can always circle back
Yeah,
with him. It's not a problem.
welcome to come back up anytime. All right, so that was that. Now, the next thing, let's kind of shift into something that looks a little bit different, but it has the same theme, and that's safety, fairness, accountability. Most of you, if you're in our Facebook group for Veronica and Jillian, have already heard about this, but many probably haven't. In Texas County, Oklahoma, thousands of drivers, many of them truckers, were pulled over by a task force tied to the district attorney's office. So instead of tickets being filed in open court, these drivers were handed slips of paper telling them to send money directly to the DA's office, essentially, often around $360 per stop. Well, from 2019 to 2024, this added up to over, I believe it was $2.1 million.
Yeah.
But here's the kicker. No court case was ever filed. There was no judge, no public record, right? It's just money moving through like a side system. One case, a Florida driver named Tammy, is it Vada?
I think it's Vada.
Okay. Challenged this practice. And
wait, hold on. Clint just hopped on.
All right.
Oh, he's not connected. Man, you're making this harder than it may need to be, Clint. I don't know. It says you're not connected now. I interrupted Carrie for nothing.
That's what mine did earlier.
So,
So
there he is. No, he's back.
Are you back?
Pick a swim lane, dude.
Yes. Hi, Clint. Can he hear us?
What are you doing, Clint? There he is.
There you are.
Are you back?
Now make
I guess. I don't know.
way down. He said, I guess. I don't even know where I'm at.
Now, I guess. I don't know. I'm not very smart at this crap. I'm redneck. Leave me alone.
We're figuring that out, sir. We see this clearly. You don't need to tell us.
Turn us down on like your phone or whatever. Can he hear me?
Man, your internet's redneck too. Madonna, I love that you did that.
Well, probably
get correct.
There you go. That sounded a lot better. How have you been?
I had a question for Mark, but I couldn't figure out how to do this to get his attention so I could ask him.
What's your question?
We'll take it.
But I'll call him later on and I'll figure.
What was your question?
My question for Mark was, so these stations are great, but what if the judge denies them because of their favoritism over the other party, and the other party just gets what they want, and it's not at one of these stations? What do you do then?
Right, and I think that is maybe where he's talking about legislative changes and stuff. But that's a good question, because that did pretty much happen in your daughter's case. So yeah, what do we do about that?
Absolutely, 100%, multiple times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's a really tough situation. And like I said, it definitely isn't going to prevent everything, but we have to have judges on board, and judges, as we know, aren't always fair.
Correct.
Yeah, Beach Girl. It starts.
I'm not saying fair, I'm saying correct.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Tammy said that, it needs to be standardized in all cases. And maybe that's the case if it's any kind of contested, any kind of contested visitation, custody, divorce, things like that. It might be best
Yes,
off that this is just standard right there.
Right.
it shouldn't be whether one feels safe or the other one feels safe, or one of them feels unsafe or the other one feels unsafe. It should be standard. Unless you both are very comfortable with it and nothing ever comes of it, like a small argument or whatever over this, that, or that. I mean, you got your circumstances, but whenever there is something that is not kosher to one or the other, it needs to be a standard deal.
Yes, I agree.
And
And because you never know.
The judges need to understand that. And in this case, the judge did know, but the judge took the side she wanted to because, well, we won't go there.
Right. We all know. We all know. Yeah. Yeah. It's shitty. It's just shitty. What do we do?
So it's got to be whether
standardized.
they make it standard for every single case, just to make sure, no matter what. I don't know. And what's there to do about it? So everybody feels safe.
Most
Well, particularly
definitely.
the kids. How awkward has it got to be for kids to be in the midst of parental emotions that have nothing to do with them, but they think it's their fault because they only see those emotions when the parents or when those exchanges take place. Like there's a whole other psychological level taking place that these parents don't even think about. It's like, you know what? Put your big girl panties on, put your feelings aside, put the kids first, and make it comfortable for them, that should be the whole reason for standardization is the kids, not because mom and dad do and don't get along. It's what is best for the kids. Since you two can't get along and we have to put a parenting plan in place and we have to have a court decision on that parenting plan, you guys have to agree to it. Clearly, then we need
court
to have
has to agree to it.
Well, in certain cases, yes, yes. I did both my divorces. There was no attorneys involved in either of my divorces because I was not doing that. I did both of my divorces. All it took was a judge to sign off on. My first divorce was technically not entirely legal in its terms. We'll put it that way. But my boys are grown, so it's not that big a deal because I didn't receive child support for the boys. But there was a fear factor involved there. But and then I didn't get as near as kind of judge on the second one. But we both had to agree to the paperwork. The only time that the court makes the decision is if neither party's willing to compromise or come to reason or find an agreement. That's when the courts have to step in and say, fine, this is what we're going to do. And half the time they'll get limited case managers and moderators, facilitators. Look at an unbiased third party, which that is such it's not really an unbiased third party, right? Because if it was an unbiased third party, you wouldn't really need them. Somebody's going to be biased somewhere in that position. There's just no other way about it. Somebody's wrong and somebody's right in those cases where it's severe.
Right.
Yeah, Debbie, that's correct. If it's made into law, the judges would have to go with it.
Yes.
And I haven't talked much with Mark about the legislative angle, but I do know that is something he's been working on. And I totally agree. I think just anytime it's contested in any way, shape, or form, that this should be, how it works out. But how do we get people to know that they exist? One, if I was to say I was getting a divorce, I had children right now, I wouldn't even know of something I wouldn't even think to look for something like this.
It should be in the divorce paperwork, and the paperwork that you file, that should all be there should be more information than just tell us your name and tell us your soon-to-be ex's name and tell us about the kids and your income.
Right, and that's going to come from attorneys, or if you're filing your paperwork pro se or whatever it might be. But we would have to get the word out for one, so that just the general population, the people that need this, would know that it even exists. And then the judges and the attorneys have to be willing to go along with it. And if they're not, then I would definitely question why. I mean,
I'll address that one. Like I said, my first divorce, I did not receive child support I didn't want it. So it was by choice. That's technically illegal in Kansas with the way we had it set up. Sorry, my dog is joining the conversation. The way we had our divorce set up with parental visits and now all that jazz, we had it set up so there's no child support to either one of us. And child support's not just simply paying somebody for something; it's more in depth than that. But as it turned out, because we had a judge that was willing to sign off on that, as long as we kept our mouth shut and we didn't go back to court for any other part of the divorce, he was cool with it. And so that's how we got away with that. With my second divorce, child support was still mandated one way or another, even though we had shared custody. Somebody had to pay somebody else because of the way the paperwork was filled out again. And despite my pleading with the judge, do not, and this was in his chambers, he's signing the final paperwork. I'm like, please don't make me take child support. I don't want it. I want nothing to do with it. It's not worth the jazz. It's not worth the problems it causes. He's like, sorry, ma'am, it's the law. I got to follow the law, and this isn't coming back on me. I was like, well, I already had one judge sign off on it. He's like, then that judge just screwed himself. If you ever go back to court for those boys for any reason, ever have to file a motion, that's how it comes out. But if you can keep it hidden, then that goes back to the idea of things being corrupted and, going under the radar and things like that.
And there's definitely that problem in certain communities for sure.
Yeah.
And Patrick, he said, Carrie, law didn't matter to the judge in Veronica's case, and laws don't seem to matter to law enforcement and judges in the Panhandle if you're friends with them. And I agree with that. And, I don't know what we can do about that. But if there had been a safe exchange center in that area within a reasonable driving distance, and it was brought up from LaDonna's attorney or whatever, we don't know that the judge would have said, absolutely not. The judge may have said, okay, this is where you meet. Done and over with. We don't know that. I know we all have our opinions on that judge and what have you. So, I do agree with you. And it's a bad situation.
Oh, it sucks. Where'd Clint go?
I don't know. He's muted.
He is muted. There he is.
Okay. So.
No, he stepped out to the restroom.
Oh,
all right. So, real quick, so let's get back to the Texas County, Oklahoma, while we're speaking of, some corruption possibly. So, where I was, at one case, a Florida driver named Tammy Vada challenged the practice. She was pulled over out there. She went public, and media investigations followed. After some federal scrutiny, the DA's office said changes were made, and a warrant connected to her case was withdrawn. Now, critics say that kind of system undermines due process. Commercial drivers face federal anti-masking rules, meaning you can't just make traffic charges disappear through private deals, right? But when money moves outside the court, then accountability vanishes.
Well, those anti-masking laws apply to commercial driver's licenses. So you can do it with the typical driver's license. You can offer a deferment or this little out or whatever it's called. But CDL carrying members, this is where the anti-masking laws apply,
right?
Which is what this is kind of blowing up into. It sounds like from what the research I've started doing, because this thing has my attention full-fledged now.
Yeah, so the FBI reportedly referred the matter to the U.S. Attorney General's office, and as of now, there's no formal resolution. But the reporting is kind of clear. This was happening, and it was happening at a large scale
over several years. So this isn't like just 6,000 drivers, 2.1 million. This is not in 1 year. This is over the course of several years' time. So that's how many years? I want to say it's at least 6, but I have to go back, and I'm trying to do as much research as possible to figure out what the hell is going on. Is it illegal? Is it bad? And who's responsible? Because the program, this whole situation, these tickets, you have it on there, 2019, 2024. There's 2 different DAs involved in that one. So it's not just one DA. It's the previous DA and then the current one. And I've got some sort of a nagging gnat trying to make out with me there.
So Basically, over several years, truckers and other drivers, they were being stopped, handed slips of paper, and told to send that money directly to the DA's office instead of going through a court. And then between 2019 and 24, like Tara said, more than 6,000 drivers were stopped under this program. And this is all in Texas County, Oklahoma. So instead of those citations going before a judge, drivers often paid an average of, I believe it's like $360 straight to the DA's office. So all told, this brought in more than $2 million. So the concerning part, many of these cases were never filed in court. So that means there's no public record, no open hearing, and no judicial oversight.
Correct. So that means the trucker gets stopped. They get this, and I won't call it a ticket. They get this piece of paper, like you said, Carrie, and they're told, you pay this. Nobody ever knows this happened. It goes back to the DA's office because if it goes through the court system, it shows up on the driving record of the CDL carrying person. And that's where the anti-masking laws come into play, is when you mask call it traffic violation, crime, whatever you want to call it. But when you mask it like that, then it's, like I said, for a regular everyday driver with a regular driver's license, not illegal. For the CDL, it sounds like it is legal based on some of the research I have been doing. But I gotta wonder, there's gotta be some fuzzy, blurry line thing happening.
Oh, I'm sure.
Here that makes
there
it legal or outside the intent of the law, or however you want to word that.
Right. Yeah, Tammy says that was part of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Act. These days have been illegal for over 25 years when this happened. That's crazy. So the case that sparked the scrutiny and pushed it into the spotlight was this Florida driver named Tammy Vada. She was stopped in Texas County. And like I said, instead of a normal citation, she was handed a slip instructing her to pay the DA's office directly. And Tammy challenged it. She went public, and then reporters picked up the story. So after media coverage and, federal scrutiny and stuff, the warrant tied to her case was withdrawn. The DA's office later went on to say changes were being made, and the FBI even referred the matter to the U.S. Attorney's Office for review. So this shows how one person speaking out really can trigger, a much larger investigation. And the reason truck drivers are reluctant to come forward is because they're afraid they'll lose their jobs. Truck drivers are held to a very high standard. So even one citation can cost them their job. And these, I want to say, fake citations were given to these drivers. And rather than fighting it, they paid it, right? More specifically, the drivers were offered deferred prosecution, meaning if they just pay the ticket, it'll be swept under the rug. It wouldn't go on their record, and their employer would not find out about it. So since many drivers opted for this route, they're now afraid to come forward, as they fear that they'll lose their jobs for not reporting the ticket to their employer. A lot of these drivers could be owner operators. And if that's the case, they are their own bosses and therefore, should come forward as there's no threat of retaliation. But after the news broke, apparently Tammy was flooded with private messages about how brave she is to come forward. And folks admitted that they were adversely impacted by this scheme. Tammy had posted on multiple trucking Facebook pages, but the administrators would take down her post. So she has found postings on Facebook of other drivers who have paid the tickets, but when she reached out to them, they state that they don't want to be involved. So there is currently a class action suit potentially being filed in the Oklahoma Federal Court, which is in Oklahoma City. And there would be real eyes on this, rather than the good old boys of Texas, Cimarron, Beaver County. And my understanding is they need 11 more drivers to come forward to expose this. So what do you have to say on that, Tara?
Well, there's not a lot on this one except for the article that you just had up, which was written by a gentleman. It came out back in February. This issue occurred back in June of last year. And so I have several questions. It's For one, I've already started deep diving into a couple of laws because I have a feeling maybe there's some laws that circumvent other laws or impact other laws, and maybe left hand doesn't know what right hand is practicing in terms of law and law enforcement. So questions about that. This was going on for 6 years, and nobody said anything. So I have questions about that. How if there's 6,000 plus truckers. I just seen something on a national news station stating how many illegal truck drivers are out there. One just caused an incident on the road where 3 people were either killed or critically injured, and he was an illegal individual driving as a big rig. He was driving a semi, and so you got to wonder how many. This is a highly traveled road. Based on some of the research I did today, there's upwards of 1,000 semi trucks that come through there on Highway 54, because I think this is where this occurred. That's how many trucks are coming through this area on the regular. So, I mean, that's huge. So apparently not every truck has been stopped, but a good portion of them. And doing some research, I have seen where there's kind of similar-ish, that's probably a big-ish, of situations in other areas, but it's all about slowing trucks down because they tend to speed. Who doesn't, though? And they cause accidents. And you hear all the time about semi drivers getting into accidents out there in the open road. And so there's a lot of research I want to do here and a lot of questions I want to ask. There's definitely, I mean, there's got to be something going on if there's a class action suit that's potentially going to be filed. There's got to be something, there's got to be a question there's somewhere that's not being answered. You're muted, Carrie, so we see your mouth moving, but nothing's coming out.
I was agreeing. I was saying there's a little bit more going on there.
Yeah, so this article it doesn't provide enough information for me at all. And I am a writer, I am a reporter, a freelance journalist, what have you, call it whatever you want. I write for a newspaper in my hometown. And so I know that you only have so many words to put in so much information. And if you don't know how to do that, and you don't know how to get more people to engage and ask you more questions, then people just take your word as gospel. And I'm not willing to do that with that particular article because there's just one.
Yeah, and we wouldn't do it with anything that just has, one article out there. Debbie said, have they stopped this since Tammy fought them? Yes, they have.
It has stopped, and I did verify it stopped shortly after the article was released earlier this year. The reason being, I haven't gotten confirmation on that, so I'm hoping to deep dive into this and start investigating and seeing what I can find. I've got several phone numbers and contacts that I want to make, and hopefully come back with a follow-up to this to give you guys some information as to what was going on out there, who was involved, how it was being played out, where the money was going. If it's going to the DA's office, there's got to be a paper trail of some money somewhere, something. So I definitely want to start following all of that and seeing what's going on. And since the program's no longer built, I want to also look into other agencies that do something similar to see what made you start it. How are you?
My understanding is a lot of times this happens in kind of rural areas where they kind of need money.
It could be.
Yeah.
It could very well be.
And here's why this matters. So when tickets and payments don't go through the courts, then there's obviously no paper trail for the public, right? And that means that no one can track how justice is being handled, and drivers lose their right to due process as well. For truckers, there's another layer. Federal law has what's called anti-masking rules, and which those are meant to stop states from sweeping commercial driving violations under the rug. So if charges get sidestepped this way, it could conflict with those rules and put drivers at a risk of bigger penalties down the line. But at the end of the day, justice must be transparent. And if money changes hands without oversight, then trust in the system breaks down. And there's already not much trust in this area.
And to that point, Debbie, yes, the money where the DA's office that's involved at the direct heart of all this is, in fact, the same DA in Veronica and Jillian's case. It's the same office. Yes.
Which is why we're covering this.
It's all Texas County. So it's kind of gone from this panhandle, no man's land type of reputation to what in the hell is going on in the Panhandle
Mhm.
that we have people that are going psychologically berserk and creating situations that we now do podcasting on, and then now we've got a trucking situation, in asking some questions. Some other things are emerging and coming forward about other things that are kind of all up in there. So I don't know if it's rural communities, right? These are several rural communities. I'm from an area of several rural communities as well, so I understand how each community knows each other, they rely on each other, and as soon as one domino falls in the negative direction, man, it looks like a whole bunch of other dominoes fall in the same direction, and things just look like crap when maybe they don't. So I'm trying not to position my judgment on one side of the fence or the other. I'm
Mhm.
trying to keep it in the Switzerland area until I get something concrete. And it's really sad. I wish more individuals had written about this. I wish that
Mhm.
that article, I wish that writer was able to influence more people to write about it and get more attention to it, to try and figure out, is it wrong, or is there some need for education on the laws? Because unfortunately, ignorance of the law is not a justifiable means of breaking it.
Right.
You get pulled over speeding. I didn't see the speeding sign. I didn't know I was speeding. Well, that's not my problem. You were still speeding, but I
Right.
didn't see the sign because it was covered up in vines. Like, you guys aren't maintaining it. How am I supposed to know it's there? And so I have a lot of curiosities about this, and I've got a lot of information, but I'm gonna continue to deep dive it and see what we can find, because
Yeah, definitely.
something's up.
Yeah, so federal and state officials are reviewing what happened, allegedly. They're reviewing it. The DA's office has said that it's changing its approach. The program has been shut down, um, conveniently right after Tammy's situation. But for the community, I think this kind of raises larger questions. How many drivers were affected? What happens to the money that was collected? How do we prevent similar off the books kind of justice systems from happening again? And
Mhm.
for me, it's about accountability. So, if
Yes.
justice is worth anything, I feel it has to be done in the open and not behind closed doors. So, this feels and seems like at this point, this was all a closed door situation. And we don't know where anything is, right? We don't know the money or anything like that. So, yeah, there's
Not
never
yet.
been a money trail.
Yeah, I don't. So that was never mentioned in the article where the money went. It was just mentioned there was $2.1 billion. That was million or billion. Now I can't remember. If the facts are getting fuzzy, it's getting late. But the money trail was never identified or detailed in that article, along with the specifics of the law or anything. It was a pretty lengthy article. There was a lot of information to get in there. It came out of a. You're muted, Carrie. We can't hear you. I don't know what's going on. It's weird. Now you're muted. Oh my gosh, I don't know what's going on with your system. StreamYard is being so weird tonight. I'm not sure what's going on with Carrie's audio. It's not coming through. I'm presuming you can hear me. Oh, she's gone. She'll be back. She's gonna figure it out. So yeah, the money trail, things of that nature, there wasn't anything really mentioned. There's a lot of, and that information may be out there. There may be another story coming out, but if you are a trucker, I'm not sure what you're doing, but your mouth is moving. Nothing is coming through. It doesn't look like you're muted either, so I'm not sure what's going on. But if you are a trucker, and I just have questions in general about trucking. I've never done it. I have no idea what it's like to be a trucker, driving those big rigs and trying to figure it out. I'm going to be scared to death. So kudos to those that can drive those things, because they scare the crap out of me. I don't think I could do it. But I'd really love to talk to you, to ask some questions and kind of get some foundational knowledge on trucking in general, and then any situation that you may have been a part of. And if you don't want to join this potential class action suit, that's fine too. But I'd really love to have my questions answered and get some education and knowledge, and then share it with everybody else and figure out, is this something to worry about, and why is it that those with CDLs can't, have the anti-masking laws, but those without don't really have that. And where did the anti-masking laws stop and start? And so, Tammy says, we don't have enough time for the life of a truck driver. I bet you guys truckers have to be busy. I know that. I don't think I've ever really known one either. But oh, I don't know, Carrie. It says you're muted. I can lip read a little bit. There she is. There.
Can you hear me
Ooh,
now?
I can hear you now, Verizon.
We're having storms, and it just hit
Oh,
my mic, and everything was disconnected, so I couldn't hear anything you were saying either.
oh no.
Okay. Yeah, so I missed all that, but I'm sure it was important.
Yeah. just basically, no, Tammy, you are not chopped liver. Basically, if you're a trucker out there, I want to talk with them and just get an understanding, get foundational knowledge of what truckers do,
Mhm.
what they're expected, how the laws are different for truckers than for the typical individual driving a regular car. And then get some insight. Has anybody been through something like this? And even if it's not this particular situation in the Panhandle, but it's been somewhere else, I would like to hear about it. And why, if did you fight back? Did you look into it? What happened? So if you've been in this situation before, you can reach me and Carrie. Would be very excited to hear about it and see how this helps to understand what's happening, or what happened rather, in Oklahoma. Because my understanding, there isn't anything more going on like that. I don't know.
Nancy said, does it just have to be truckers?
I mean, this situation has only been truckers that I'm aware of. This has impacted the truckers the most. So she also says Highway 54 in Texas County has always been a speed trap. There'd be a lot of other ticketed individuals who were in cars and pickups. I don't know and I can pull reports to find out how many individuals have been pulled over on Highway 54 between, this stretch of highway and that stretch of highway. All that information is going to be public, so I can pull all that and get some statistics as to regular driver's license versus the commercial driver's license. So yeah, that would be hard research.
Clarification on Nancy's question, does it just have to be truckers? No, it can be anybody.
Okay.
So if you feel like you were involved in this, then it don't have to be necessarily a trucker. It mostly impacted CDL drivers.
Mm-hmm. Well, because of the anti-masking laws specifically, which leads down other rabbit holes of legalese that, like I said, I want to get into and figure out, because this is new on me. This is a whole other area of WTF-free.
Yeah, Tammy said, anti-masking laws only apply to CDL holders, not other classes of licenses.
Okay.
So, yeah. Go to Texas County on vacation, leave on probation. That's the motto. Listen, we haven't been back for a while,
I know, it's been a bit. Well, true, we haven't been back there. We've had bad luck. We've been down there.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So, you guys, where do we go from here? I think for custody exchanges, we need judges to write orders that require safe centers when there are red flags. Counties need to apply for existing funds. And like I said, those links are in the description of this video. And also, please feel free to reach out to any of the three of us. If a full center isn't ready, then you could start with video monitored exchange zones. And then I feel like for the trucking controversy, transparency matters. And every traffic stop should result in a court record, not a background or, a backroom slip. Communities can push for audits of the DA programs and for legislators to close loopholes that allow this whole, do-it-yourself kind of justice. And I think the common thread is safety and fairness require infrastructure. If we don't build it, then tragedies happen and trust erodes.
Agreed. Which, by the way, you say roads, that just reminded me of something I was thinking. When you have around upwards of 1,000 semi trucks on a road, can you imagine the amount of road maintenance that's maintained? And I say that because I've driven into Oklahoma. I've been on y'all's roads, and I've always wondered, why don't y'all take care of your roads? Because you're trying to maintain Highway 54 over in the Panhandle.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, that's where
roads.
That's where now. I'll give you some credit. Nebraska's roads are worse. I will tell you that. Nebraska can take some lessons from Oklahoma, sadly enough.
Oh man, yeah, they're rough here. I think Arkansas had good roads, I believe, if I remember correctly. I remember thinking, God, these are kind of smooth, but I didn't have much to compare to. So,
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, so tonight we've talked about two, very different issues, but they are basically they're in the same location and they share the same root. When systems cut corners, then families pay the price. If you are
Yes.
in Kansas, ask your county to apply for the Attorney General's Child Exchange and Visitation Center grants. If you're in Oklahoma, encourage your counties to seek, it's called VOCA and STOP funds. And if you've been affected by the Texas County stops, save your paperwork, consult a lawyer, and know that you deserve due process. You can also reach out to myself or Tara through Facebook Messenger or email, and we can put you in touch with a law firm that is currently working on a class action lawsuit for this matter. Most importantly, remember the hotlines that I had on the screen. Write those down. Share those with somebody that might need them. Yeah, Tara and I are already planning our next live for next week, and we do want your input. Would you guys prefer, this would be really cool, and I'm really excited, so I hope you guys say this, but both would be cool. Would you guys prefer that we go over the complete, and I mean complete, court transcript from the preliminary hearings? Now, that's not our notes, that's the actual transcript, so you'll hear word for word what was testified. Or would you like to learn more about the civil suit against Cimarron County Hospital that has been filed by Veronica's mother, Amanda? So if you guys just kind of let us know in the comments for a minute what you'd like to hear from us for next week, and then whatever we don't do next week, maybe we can do it for the week after.
Agreed.
Debbie said yes, please. But which
So
one?
which one? Need direction, Debbie.
I feel like that
is that also
that transcript is going to take a little while for us to get through, but I think you guys will really, I hate to say enjoy, because there's nothing enjoyable about it, but it'll give you a little bit more insight to what exact words were said, not our note-taking kind of thing. So,
which our note-taking was fabulous.
It was pretty good. It was.
I mean, I almost got word for word on several areas just because I shorthanded it, but
yes.
I look back now and I can actually understand it even today. I'm kind of surprised. We can take many weeks if need be. Yeah, we can split it down between a few weeks. I mean, it is a hell of a transcript.
We got civil suit, hospital suit.
Just an overall case update, so there's an option.
Transcript, both. As far as an overall case update, there really hasn't been much going on. I mean, there's just been the orders for the testing, DNA testing. That's the biggest thing really that's gone on. It's just there hasn't been a whole lot really to discuss.
I just got a private chat that said civil suit, please. And I think that civil suit probably, maybe we need to go that direction because there is a lot riding on that situation. It does flood back over to the criminal case, not suit, criminal case. And then that all floods back into the civil suit, which has been, I've been deep diving that. That has been interesting as well. And so,
yeah, there's a lot of information in all those filings for the civil suit.
Oh, it's crazy.
For both, there's two civil suits. So, the hospital one is interesting, as is the other, and there's a lot of information in there. So, all right. So I guess we will do
the civil
hospital.
Suit. The hospital suit. Yep, we'll start with that one, and I mean, I still want to cover that transcript, and I know we needed. So maybe they're doing us a favor by offering the civil suit first, because we may need some time to deep dive into that transcript. And considering we missed an afternoon, we can go back and read the crap that we missed and put some things together. It'll be great.
Yeah.
So
definitely. All right. Well, yeah, Texas Bluebonnets. It was great to see all of you too. We both really missed seeing you guys. So we've been really busy. Life has been, stressful. Yeah.
Well, between your family situations, my son having a stroke, and that took, shenanigans had just gotten started. It got, we had to stop it. And so it's nice to come back to normal. And
it is.
It's like rewiring my brain. Like that's what my son is doing too. After his stroke, you have to rewire the brain. I'm like, I totally get it. I'm falling back into rhythm. So this this is really
Definitely.
good. I am going to plug Shenanigans at Sunday at 7:00.
Please do. Put the link in the chat if you can.
I haven't put that together yet, but I will.
Okay, let me go grab it. I'll go grab it while you talk for a
Okay.
minute. I know you can handle talking.
So this weekend, and I'll thank you, LaDonna. I'll give you an update on Austin in just a second. And Debbie, thank you guys all for asking. So this Sunday, because of our discussion this past Sunday where we were talking about women's rights, it fell into child support. And Kathy was like, I'm not even going to discuss this here. I want a whole show for child support. So we will be taking on the subject matter of child support because we have a couple of one of the ladies in Shenanigans actually pays child support. And so we're going to deep dive into that, open that can of worms up and see what kind of Pandora's box shenanigans we can come out with. So you guys need to be a part of that, especially if you've got some insight to that one. It'd be great to have all of the opinions. Circling back to my son, I may get emotional because I didn't realize, and Carrie will understand this. I know, because I know Carrie's situation. When you talk about a family situation that's so incredibly stressful and impactful, the emotions don't just process because you don't have time to process them. And so, as many of you may know, my son endured a stroke on April 29th. I think I had the date wrong, actually, when I started all this stuff. I think I said the 28th. But on April 29th, he endured a stroke. We found out that he was actually, he endured the stroke first thing in the morning, 10:30 in the morning. It woke him up. He was asleep, trying to sleep for night shift, got up because of the stroke, and he laid on the bathroom floor where he collapsed for 7 hours until his brother found him. And so we got him help. We got him to, he went to ICU, and then he went to Madonna Rehab in Lincoln, Nebraska. Despite them telling him he was going home in a wheelchair, he walked out of that hospital on his own 2 legs with a cane, but he still walked out. And today he continues with his occupational therapy, his speech therapy, and his physical therapy. He's actually here tonight. He stays between my house and his dad's house, and he goes home on the weekends. But he's doing amazing. He gains every single day. There's always something new that he's doing. His walking is good. He still walks with a cane because the physical therapist want him to, so he focuses on the correct technique. He's getting his arm back. He doesn't have his fingers back yet, but he's getting more range of motion in his arms. And then his speech, comprehension's all there. All his faculties are there. Smart as a whip, still snarky and still sarcastic as ever, still quick-witted. The only thing that he struggles with is word finding. So sometimes his brain is working 1,000 miles a minute, and then his mouth is like, I can't say all that, so I'm just going to say something else. And you come out and you're like, what the hell did you just say? And he's like, that didn't make sense.
I have the same problem.
Right? Well, like when he was in the hospital, we finally figured out what it was. And he was early on in Madonna, and one of his best friends was up there on the day, and he was in his wheelchair, and he's like, I need something. We're like, what do you need? He's like, I need opposite the clutch. We're like, what the hell does that mean? Like, wow. We're just like, what is, and his friend thought about it. He's like, oh, you want the pedal to your wheelchair, don't you? And Austin's like, yeah, see, it wasn't that hard. And I'm like, how did you get to that from opposite the clutch? And his friend was like, he drives a stick shift, and the opposite of the clutch is the pedal. So, oh my God. And Austin's like, I don't know why that was so hard for you, Mom. That was pretty simple.
Maybe you need to rewire your brain. That's great, though. I'm so happy that he's doing good. I knew he would. I told you in the beginning, he's going to do just fine. He's going to pull through it. He's got a strong mom, a strong family. And
does he have a filter? He does have his filter. That part of his brain does work. I know a lot of people with strokes, their filter no longer works.
Right.
He didn't have a filter beforehand. He just whipped it out because he wanted to see how surprised people would be. He still has his sense of charm, and his personality is fully intact. It's just amazing to us. So I really appreciate you guys being so supportive, and the prayers, the good wishes, the vibes. That it really does.
It helps.
It really does work. It helps a lot. So thank you very much for asking. We are very fortunate we got to keep him, and then we're going to get him. We're going to watch him recover fully. It's just going to take a little time.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right. Well, Tara, thank you so much. Mark, I appreciate you coming up. Clint,
Thanks for
I
trying.
appreciate your little few seconds that you gave us this evening. But no, seriously, thank you for joining us
Yeah.
tonight. And to all of you, thank you for showing up, asking questions, and refusing to accept unsafe systems. So I think together we can build something better. That's it. We will be back next Tuesday at 7 p.m. and we will go over the hospital. But you guys all take care of yourselves and each other, and we will see you back next Tuesday evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.